What is going on, guys? And welcome back to our second Enzyme community call for 2021. So excited to have you here because last time we talked about the launch of version 2. And today we're not just reviewing some of the new features that we launched for you guys in version 2, but we're also going to take a look at the road ahead with version 3, the Sulu roadmap, where it's really becoming obvious how, Enzyme is becoming more and more of that DeFi mega aggregator that I talked about at the last community call. And we're also going to share with you, some of the numbers, some of the improvements, MIP7. And today we're doing that together with GL, one of our Enzyme exposed businesses, community reps through the council. And Mona is also joining us for some sections on the next road ahead, the version 3. And we have a little surprise guest coming at number 6. Maybe, just maybe, the emoji gives a little bit of a hint of who could that be. So without further ado, and then at the end, of course, we have our Q&A session. So I hope you guys enjoy the next 30 minutes. Perhaps we're going to dive into all of this and then have some time to ask any questions you have, because we know there's a lot of new funds coming on. There's a lot of people that want to explore using Enzyme, which is so awesome because maybe 2 years ago all people talk about is token and token value. Now we've got hundreds of users running funds on Enzyme, so it's going to be an exciting time.
Maybe to add to this, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat and we'll go over them at the end of the session.
Awesome. All right, you guys ready? Let's start with number 1. Real quick catch up. I know a lot of you guys are already using Enzyme. Maybe you're even developers on Enzyme, but just to catch everyone up to the same place really fast, Enzyme is the on-chain asset management protocol. So when you think of in the traditional world, traditional finance, every single hedge fund, every single bank, every single financial institution could one day be running on Enzyme, where Enzyme is the layer that takes care of the asset custody, the on-chain custody, and having management tools for funds, having the on-chain capital raising, capital aggregating technology, on-chain track record. Every single infrastructure piece that goes into asset management is what Enzyme is providing and will be providing beyond just crypto, even when it comes to equities, as we have our first, for example, synthetic Tesla tokens and so far. And what is Enzyme thereby encompasses with two customers. On one hand, we have people that want to invest into decentralized funds, right? So as a user, you can join any fund you want, and you can trust that the track record is real because it's on chain. And equally, you can trust that when you give somebody your funds, they're not going to run off with it. They're not gonna, there was some horror stories back in 2017, crypto funds buying Lambos with, customer funds. With Enzyme, it's on chain, so you can see that your money is in a vault, and you can trust that that the track record you see is real because it actually happened with on-chain exchanges. It's also available 24/7. We don't close for the weekend like the banks do, and of course, everything is completely transparent and non-custodial. As a builder, whether that's you as an asset manager, maybe you're a developer that wants to create, a rebalancing bot or something like that. The reason we phrase to vaults is because we're seeing a lot more automated strategies as well that Enzyme enables. So as an investor, developer, whatever, you can set up a vault in minutes. In fact, we even saw decentralized autonomous organizations start using Enzyme as infrastructure for their treasury vault, just showing you the scale to which Enzyme can go. And it allows you to integrate with most DeFi protocols out there. We've worked on several. We've got Uniswap, we've got Paraswap, we've got Compound, we've got Synthetics, list goes on. And now even Gnosis Safe with version 3, which Mona will talk about, you'll start seeing that we'll add name after name after name. And in no time, anything that's a DeFi that you want to use, you will most likely be able to use via Enzyme. And of course, it allows you to scale fast because we've got by now over 125 tokens. And you might have been noticing back in the day with version 1, it took forever to add tokens. It was very slow. I know that was one of the most requested things from our users. Now you might have seen every couple of weeks, we add a handful of tokens. Right the first day, we added things like DPI, Hedgic, and so forth. Recently, Synthetics brought out new tokens like the Tesla tokens. We added those. So As much as the Chainlink ecosystem expands, so will our ecosystem of tokens. And the more integrations we make, I think in no time, nearly everything will be tradable. A quick word on our stats, because I know people love to keep track of that. I think it's really impressive to keep an eye that we just launched version 2, and the highest that version 1 was ever at, I believe, was about 5 million, maybe 5.5 million, I think was the peak of Melon V1. And it took Enzyme not a full month to not just surpass the previous all-time high in AUM, but actually double it, right? So since the last community call, in that monthly growth, we've seen 100% vault growth. We've seen 113% AUM growth. And we also saw a 205%, which I think is very important, growth in deposits. Something, when I first invested into MLN, something that caught my eye that I was a little bit iffy about was that, the amount of deposits and vaults was very similar. I think back when I invested, there was maybe 300 vaults and 330 investments. So pretty much the only investments were the fund owners themselves. But what we're seeing now is that there's actually, twice as many deposits already. So we're actually seeing a lot of users come in as well, people looking to invest, to allocate the dollars to alternative investment funds. So very exciting. I think with that, I'll give it over to Gio.
Okay, great. Indeed, it hasn't been so long since we launched V2, but there are already some improvements that are already live. So for example, the user interface was updated a bit. For instance, now it's possible to also invest in a fund, no matter which fund and no matter which denomination asset it has, you can now invest into it straight using Ether. So this was launched yesterday, actually. And it's a one-step process. So you do not need to convert your Ether into something else. You can just go straight into the fund. Also, the regular investment flow was simplified a bit. So in case you wanted to join a USDC fund, you first need to approve a transaction and then deposit it, which was not very clear for non-crypto native users. But now it's like clarified a bit. So it's a lot smoother to onboard people into your fund or just a regular fund. There's a lot of new stuff also that already happened in the past month. So for instance, we also have an update for the Paraswap adapter, meaning you can now see through which liquidity pools your orders get pooled as a fund manager, which can be really handy to save on gas costs. We also added about 22 new tokens in the past few weeks, and more are coming. Like Felix said, as soon as there's a Chainlink price feed for an asset, we can add it, and it will be added. There are more trading options available now also. We have private market makers, synthetics integration, a Uniswap integration, in addition to Paraswap, which was already there. It's also possible now to lend your Ether through Alpha Homora, which is a sort of yield generating platform, which is currently yielding about 8% on a yearly basis. So you can deposit your ETH into a fund and then deposit it into Alpha Homora to earn some extra yield for your investors. Recently, also the support was added for staked Ether through StakeHound. More tokens will be added at a later stage. So it's like a semi-centralized provider that stakes the tokens for you, but you get all the yield, or at least the investors in the fund get all the yield. We're also looking at more decentralized solutions like Lido Finance, but we're still waiting on a Chainlink price feed for those. Like Felix mentioned, it's now also possible for organizations to use Enzyme through the Gnosis Safe app, which means that if you are a DAO or another organization with a multisig, you can also invest in a fund or create your own to manage your treasury. As a matter of fact, the Enzyme Council is now managing its funds also on the platform itself, just to demonstrate how easy it is and what a powerful tool it can be. And some two new exciting things, in my opinion, also that launched this month are gas fee reimbursements for everyone trading through the Paraswap adapter. This is live now. It's a sort of pilot program in which we want to encourage people to use Enzyme and take care of some of the gas costs for it. So to read up a bit more about it, whether you're eligible or not, I suggest going to the Enzyme Finance Twitter or Medium page to get up to date with that. And related to that, we also have an ongoing contest now for the best fund manager in March. And the winner will get a hash mask. So it's a sort of NFT. I think these are trading currently somewhere between $2,500 each and a few $100,000 each. So it could be a really nice prize. If you want to take part in the contest, again, check out the Enzyme Finance Twitter or the Medium post about it. You will have to link your Twitter profile to your fund stats page, which is also a good way for investors to reach out to you. So yeah, I'm quite excited to see how this contest will go and what hash mask is generated at the end. Okay, I think with this we can hand over the word to Mona for some more info on what's going on with the next release.
Hey guys, thanks for the great intro. It's great to see some old faces and some new faces. So yeah, we're here to talk about, or I'm going to be talking about Sulu and what you can expect from Enzyme after the V2 release. So as Gilles and Felix mentioned, we've now been live with V2 for about a month. The last release cycle was quite a long one. It was 9 months in start to finish, but it was also an extremely large release that we did. It was pretty much architecting the protocol from the ground up and making it a lot more modular, a lot more extensible. And obviously one of the big features now is that it's upgradable. But the good news is that from now on, release cycles will be much, much shorter. So we're aiming to turn Sulu around quite fast, and we'll be releasing features out as they come. Some Sulu features have already been released, as Gilles touched on. We released staked ETH last week with, it's now possible to stake your ETH, and I think it's yielding about 9% on Enzyme. So we're moving fast and making improvements, and a couple more features have just gone to audit, so you can expect to hear about those very soon as well. But what else can you expect in the next 2 to 3 months from Sulu in general? So one of the biggest, kind of features that we're gunning for right now is borrowing. So being able to natively borrow from within an Enzyme vault, borrow stable coins or borrow against your ETH, and basically do something interesting with that. For example, being able to deposit your ETH and borrow USDC against that, and then do something else with your USDC. We're really excited about that feature. Carlos on the team has been putting a lot of thought, effort, and research into that, and will be and has sketched that out already in terms of how it might look. So we'll be starting work on that soon. Shares transferability. This has been a feature that a lot of you have asked for in the past, and we're definitely going to release that in the next upgrade. This will enable things like secondary trading of vault shares. It will enable people to do funkier setups with things like fees, performance fees, or creating liquidity pools with their vault tokens. Or there's basically unlimited choices that could emerge when you have shares transferability, and we want to unlock that innovation and make it possible for people to opt into shares transferability. So we're very excited about that. And as many of you know, with V2, we also have the possibility to accommodate for yield farming. So this is already possible now with comp tokens and uni tokens, because we're able to deposit into uni pools from an Enzyme vault, and you're also able to lend on Compound. And as long as you're doing those things in the right pools that are eligible to some kind of farming rewards, then basically you can claim those rewards if you check out the, I think it's the airdrops and yield farming section on the user documentation. However, our goal is not just to stop at Compound and Uniswap. In terms of farming, we want to support multi-protocol yield farming, and we are in the process of making sure that people will be able to farm tokens like Curve, Idle, and Balancer when we finish those integrations. So the multi-protocol yield farming is a direct reflection of the integrations which are to come. So we have already started working on Curve pool integrations. For transparency, we saw the most demand for the staked ETH Lido pool as an initial start, and also the 3 pool. If people want to see other pools integrated from Curve, we'd appreciate you raising your voice kind of and voting on it even on Canny, so that we can prioritize the pools. Unfortunately, Curve pools don't have a unified interface, so integrating each one is a piece of work, but we're definitely trying to start with the ones that are most important to our users. So you can expect to see Curve pools quite soon. The Aave integration, we want people to be able to lend on Aave as well. So all the A tokens will become available soon. Actually, this should be happening sooner than later. We're really excited to be able to add that range of tokens next to the C tokens. Another protocol that we're really excited about integrating is Idle. So we've begun work on that integration as well. And we're working closely with the Idle team on that. And last but not least, we want to also enable Balancer integration. The extent of that integration isn't clear yet. I think we definitely want to enable for the pools, but we'll see if there's more that can be done, because I think there are different ways we can integrate Balancer, for example, on the liquidity side as well as the pools. So we're looking into that, and we actually haven't started on the Balancer integration yet, though. So yeah, this is what you can expect from us in the next 2 to 3 months. Like I said, Sulu is, we're expecting a quick turnaround. None of these integrations are fixed in stone. So if anyone feels really strongly about prioritizing something else, now or later is the time, now or after this call is the time to speak up. But we're definitely sensing a lot of excitement about Sulu, and we hope you share that with us. I'm happy to take any questions now or at the end, whatever, if there are any. And we have a couple of the devs, I think, in the call as well, so they can be very technical too.
Yeah, maybe to stick to the agenda, we'll do the questions at the end.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so this is a few other things that were not on the official Sulu roadmap, I think. And these are some requests we got from the community, which, or feedback, I would say, not necessarily requests. Obviously, the last few weeks have been quite painful in terms of gas. So I want to reiterate what Gilles said before. We are absolutely aware of the pain, our users face when gas prices spike. So we're trying, we're trying to alleviate that short term with things, experimenting with things like gas subsidies, gas subsidy programs, and we'll see how that goes. And if that works, we'll definitely look to extend that. If not, we may try something else. We're also internally discussing ways to reimburse or charge gas to the vault instead of to the manager. That should also help alleviate some pain. But another question we get now, I think 3 or 4 times a day, is when layer 2. I want to like strongly emphasize that we have a very, very close eye on layer 2, some solutions more than others. And I would say we are quite aware of what is going on there. And we appreciate the questions. We are looking into it, and we are absolutely researching what our plans will be for layer 2. We're keeping a close eye on optimism. We're keeping a close eye on diversify, loopring, all the major kind of developments that are happening. And we a lot of people say, why haven't you done it already? And I think, or why are you not the first mover? And I just want to emphasize that there isn't much advantage for us being the first mover to any of these solutions, because we are ultimately looking to be an asset management protocol. So we will follow where the assets go ultimately. But we are keeping a very close eye and researching some of these more interesting solutions. We also saw a lot of requests for the Coinbase wallet. I would say that the team reacted very quickly on that. I think a couple of people in the community mentioned it this week, and we actually reprioritized or reshuffled a few things to make that happen sooner than later. We are also aware that a big request is to redeem, to be able to redeem in a single asset. I would say that that is a priority. It's not being worked on right now, although we have sketched out a solution for it, a potential solution for it, but we will actually implement this a little bit later. So like we'll probably start work on this in a few weeks. And it is something that we're striving to make happen either as part of Sulu or soon after Sulu. Yeah, last but not least, the NFT craze, which we're obviously very much enjoying ourselves, hence the whole collaboration with the hash masks. We're very excited about being able to support other types of assets like NFTs, etc. We're confident that that will be possible at some point in the future, and we've already started brainstorming on what that might look like. It's not a part of Sulu, but it's something that we will definitely pursue. Probably more to be announced on that after Sulu. So just to reiterate the key points here. Sulu is intended to be a very quick turnaround versus, especially versus V2. So we're looking to turn this around in 2 to 3 months. We are aware of the high gas prices, researching and very kind of assertive around what's happening in layer 2. But for the meantime, we're going down the route of alleviating the short-term pain with gas subsidies and other experimental methods to help alleviate that pain until there is more clarity on what our strategy will be. We are working on most of the integrations we just mentioned, and we'll be starting work on the others quite soon. And MIP7 work has begun on that actually as well. We didn't mention it in the slide, but work has begun on that. And MIP7 is quite a big piece of work. So it will be released whenever it's ready, but we're aiming for some time in Q2 or Q3. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think I will hand on to the next speaker.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the update, Mona. Really insightful. And now that you mention MIP7, we also want to provide the community a small update on this. So it's been long in the making. I think it was already back in June that it was first proposed. And the idea behind MIP7 is aligning the growth of Enzyme with the Melon token. So the goal is to have more value accrue in the Melon token as the protocol expands. So what currently has been decided is to introduce an AUM-based fee, like in the original MIP7 proposal, which will be used to buy and burn Melon tokens. And like Mona said, work on this has begun. These fees will most likely be paid by the fund, not a fund manager. And the number we have decided upon with the council temporarily, it's not set in stone, but we're thinking about a 25 BIP fee, so 0.25% on vault holdings. And this could be either paid in the denomination currency or another cryptocurrency within the fund. To give you an idea, at 1 billion AUM, that would mean about 2.5 million yearly fee collections. But keep in mind, this is also just the first phase. This is something that's quite, I wouldn't say easy to implement, but quite straightforward. We're also thinking in the meantime about the second phase to further increase the utility of the Melon tokens, for example, by staking them, by implementing a referral fee schedule, or by allowing the Melon token holders to also make use of some of the incentives, for example, that the Enzyme Council receives. For example, for the synthetics integration, there is a part of the fees shared with Enzyme, which could be forwarded to the Melon token holders or fund managers to be determined. So to reiterate, like the first phase is ongoing, the second phase is still very exploratory, still needs to be decided upon. But I think the general consensus is both with users and the council that a lot more can be done to really couple the growth of Enzyme that we're seeing now with also the Melon token value accrual. So maybe to add to this, we also got rid of the fee on investments and fee on withdrawals when you enter or exit an Enzyme fund compared to Melon V1. So yeah, just something to keep in mind also. We can answer a bit more questions about this at a later stage if you guys have any more detailed questions on this. I think we can now go to our guest actually. So some of you may have already guessed it, but we're having Jai from Rari Capital on. Hello, can you hear us, Jai?
Yeah, hey guys, thank you for having me. Awesome.
Okay.
So
I'll let Felix introduce you maybe.
great.
Sure thing. So we have the one and only, by the way, is it Jai or Jay?
Jay works.
Jay, awesome. So we've got the one and only Jay from Rari Capital with us. You know, it's crazy. We started talking back in November, December about this integration, right? And back then you guys were slowly coming out the gate with the yield aggregator and have built a lot of really cool things since. I know Fuse is coming out soon. And they've been blowing up themselves quite a bit. You know, congrats on the recent growth from like, I mean, when we did that partnership, maybe 30 cents to now like $16. And they're building a lot of really cool technology, both in terms of the yield aggregators where you guys started to now money markets, your own wallets and so forth. And we're excited to be partnering with you guys for one of those yield aggregators. So Jay, I don't want to take away too much from you. You could tell us a little bit more about both what you guys do and how you're going to use Enzyme to, you know, further your mission.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that introduction. As Felix said, I'll be talking about Rari Capital and Enzyme today. We can go to the next slide. A little bit of background about who I am. And obviously, I'm on the Rari Capital team. Started Rari Capital back in May with two of my good friends, and since then we've grown a decent amount. Go to the next slide. Just detailing what our collaboration looks like and what we put out the other day. The reason that we wanted to work with Enzyme so bad was because we understood that we didn't want to play this role of being the asset manager. We saw the faults with many of these teams that tried to develop both product and infrastructure. And we realized that we could best produce the best product by basically saying, let's let Enzyme handle all of the complicated stuff, all of the fee collections, all of the money movement, all of the stuff that we didn't want to really spend time on, so that we could focus on building strategies and products like what we do best. And that's really what number 2 on the slide goes about. And it talks about we're using Enzyme to allocate capital. And that was really exciting. And then when we started working with the Enzyme team, we realized that the possibilities of this collaboration are so much more. So number 1 addresses enabling other Enzyme funds to allocate capital into the Rari protocol and instantly earn yield using our protocol. And then number 3 talks about us using our DAO and our treasury to actually grow by allocating capital into an enzyme fund. I think that that's really exciting because a lot of these projects, they take a very simple approach to their DAO and treasury management. And I think that's something that we've talked about with our community. So we want to take a very aggressive role with our treasury. We want to be out there actively trading it with various individuals that know the market better than we do. And that's really where Enzyme comes in. And then again, we wanted our collaboration with Enzyme to be really deep rooted, not only between both of the teams working together, but with our communities, which is why we did a token swap, which you can view the details of. In terms of timeline, what we're looking at is for number 1, we hope that'll be out in the next couple of months. For number 2, we're actually aiming to publish the Rari allocating capital into Enzyme within the next 2 weeks. We're currently buried with the Fuse launch, which should be out next Monday. But right after that, this becomes a top priority. And then as for allocating treasury funds into the DAO, again, this will be waiting for the Fuse launch because we're actually going to borrow against RGT in our DAO and then go and allocate it into Enzyme funds. And similar timeline for the token swap. That's about when we're planning to do it. And I briefly touched on this, but just going back to this question on why Enzyme, right? There's a few different asset management protocols out there. And additionally, it's like we have a lot of this infrastructure. Why are we partnering with a current infrastructure provider? So to address the first one, all the other asset management providers they aren't as aggressive in terms of DeFi integrations, or they aren't doing unique stuff, right? Like the Sulu upgrade in itself is such a fascinating piece of technology, turning Enzyme into a primitive. And that's a team that we want to be working with. And then as for why move to another infrastructure provider instead of just doing it ourselves, it's because we believe that we believe that again, we don't want to have to manage product and infrastructure. And we think that it's best suited to allow the people who understand the infrastructure and have years building in it to handle it for us. And we can continue iterating, adding the best strategies and earning our users the highest amount of yield possible. And then this is the last slide. What's next in terms of this collaboration? So I outlined those three main pieces that will be coming out over the next couple of months. So what comes after that? And I see 2 main things. The first of which will actually begin as early as the token transferability is enabled with the Sulu upgrade, and that will enable people to lend and borrow Melon funds directly in the Fuse platform. So if you're sitting on, let's say, $10 million worth of Gorilla Fund tokens, there's no reason that you can't deposit that into a money market and suddenly begin borrowing against it. And usually you face issues with counterside liquidity problems, but we have solutions because we have a yield aggregator. And then the second piece, and this is potentially the more exciting piece, is we're also working on a project called Tanks, and it's very, very early in its development. But what Tanks enable are you can basically have a generalized vault model. So you deposit X asset, you withdraw, or you lend X asset, you borrow Y asset, and then do something with Y asset. And the role of the tank is to maintain the collateral ratio. So the cool thing about working with Enzyme here is we can actually enable you to, let's say you have Bitcoin and you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, but you also want to enter into a Melon fund or an Enzyme fund. What you can do is you just lend out your Bitcoin and it'll automatically deposit into whichever Enzyme fund you want. And the tank itself will work to maintain the collateral ratio. And that's about it for what's coming next. Lots of really, really exciting stuff. If you have any questions, tweet at me. That's my Twitter handle on the bottom. Happy to dive into more details in the question and answer section.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Jay. Really excited for what's coming because, obviously we both grow together. I know you guys are launching new features literally like every single month, not just features, new products on completely different verticals. And there's, I think, a lot we can work on together. And it's a great, first kind of use case. Just like right now, Enzyme is experimenting with a lot of different protocols, whether it's you guys, whether it's the Gnosis Safe, whether it's Unslashed and so forth, where we're really, being pioneers here, trying to find ways to like integrate these different protocols. And I think in the future, a lot of protocols will start using Enzyme, whether it's for the treasury, whether it's for, you know, the yield aggregators, the different structured products and so forth. So definitely thanks for joining us. Does anybody have any questions for Jay? Because he might not be staying for the whole Q&A. I mean, you're more than welcome to, but if there's any questions for Jay, maybe write them now first, and then we can, I think, hop into the Q&A. And also any Q&A, I think, is fair game now.
Yes, maybe I do have a question for Jay. Like, can you explain maybe when will we be able to tokenize our socks? I heard about a nice feature you guys are rolling out using the Unisocks.
Yeah, so what that was addressing is our upcoming Fuse product. And basically what Fuse enables is anybody can deploy their own money market with whatever assets they want on whatever interest rate curves they want, using whatever oracles they want. And one of the cool things we were like is, what if you could borrow against your stocks, right? You're sitting on these idle assets, and the end goal of Ferrari is enable you to earn interest on your idle assets. So we went to Andre and we were like, hey, Andre, will you help us set up an oracle for these stocks, a keeper oracle? He said, hell yeah, let's do it. 2 hours later, we had a keeper oracle up for stocks. And now when Fuse goes live next Monday, pending an official announcement, obviously, you will be able to borrow against stocks in a Fuse pool that we set up, which is really cool. Or borrow against them. You could lever up on stocks. You could just take out cash flows against stocks. You can really do whatever you want. And that goes with any
I
asset.
already look forward to explaining that to my accountant.
Jay, I have a question as well. You're talking, I mean, I know with Fuse, you've been tweeting quite heavily about layer 2, etc. And you just talked about an awesome use case about being able to transfer, you know, once Zulu brings token transfer or vault token transferability, in essence, that also means people can start buying and selling these tokens on a layer 2 through the Fuse bridge. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so when we look at layer 2, like similar to you guys, we're looking at all the different players in the space. I think that we find optimism to be one of the most promising solutions at the moment, except the biggest inhibitor to us is the 7-day withdrawal period. That's a big UX hurdle. And actually, somebody on our team is working on a research paper in collaboration with a few different parties on basically a free market solution to bouncing tokens between layer 1 and layer 2, bypassing the 7-day withdrawal period through the use of free markets. And it's basically like setting up a DEX, allowing market makers to play and send funds back and forth. That product will enable us to basically easily send assets back and forth, obviously, but also use a piece of a Fuse pool and enable the Fuse pool creator to say, hey, I want X% of this pool to be actively bouncing between layer 1 and layer 2. That enables that Fuse pool creator to earn extra yield. So the cool thing about that is, like, let's say there's a Fuse pool with Enzyme pool tokens. There's no reason that the pool creator can't just flip that switch, and then suddenly that pool token is liquid on both layer 1 and layer 2 for all Enzymes users.
Nice, thanks.
Okay, great. Maybe also some questions we had in the chat and on our Discord chat is about the token swap that's happening. So each Melon token holder will be eligible to like a small portion of RGT, Rari tokens. Do you have already a set date for it when the snapshot for that will happen?
We do not have a set date, but it should be in the next couple months at the latest.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll continue to keep everyone up to date when a date is set for that. Okay, maybe we can switch over to some of the questions in the chat. I see one from Sayes about shares transferability, and he asks whether it's going to be optional for the fund manager or default for all funds. And this will be actually opt-in and configurable. Like most of the upgrades that happen will be opt-in. Nobody will be forced to use them. So in terms of who can transfer the tokens and who can receive the transferred shares, it's all configurable, similar to how you would now have an investor whitelist, for instance, in the fund. Let's see, Felix, can you...
Somebody asked when Enzyme on Cover or NXM. Mona, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I am currently staking NXM against Melon. Is it Melon version 1 or has it already been updated to also include Enzyme? I know we are on NXM. I'm not sure if V2 is on NXM.
Yeah, I think it's still version 1. It's the same on Unslashed. You can also get cover for, or you will in the future at least. But I think it's still V1.
Unslashed, you cannot stake anything directly yet, I believe. But I think that will be coming very soon. And Nexus, I will have to check because I think it was Janos on the team who coordinated that. So I'll check in with him. But I believe it would probably be V1 as well. I will confirm that.
Yeah, and I mean, if this is something you guys desire, we can probably set that up. I talk with you once in a while because I asked him about like setting up NXM for other projects as well. So since we're already on there for V1, it should be fairly easy to get something running for V2. Not sure if we're going to do a liquidity mining campaign for it, but at least I think we can get the cover going.
V2 will be available for both very soon. I mean, I'm confident about that if it's not already available. But we're talking days. Like, I mean, both teams have been hearing a lot from us. So
let's see if there's anything else. White label widget solution. So you're saying that you use Enzyme. Well, white label, I think that's kind of what Gorilla funds are doing right now, right? That you can use the protocol without using the Enzyme interface itself. I think what that Gorilla funds have been working on, like creating fund pages so that you can have it like your own website that only is your fund, so that when you want to get somebody to invest in it, you send them that link to your page. Always use your information and support. But if there's something more specific that you mean with a widget, I would say let the team know, and we can look into that. That's, I mean, the way things end up on the roadmap is by using the what's it called? The tool that we use for people suggest roadmap items. Yes, Canny. Right.
Canny. Yeah, yeah. We've had a few requests for widget, and we are aware that people want an easily embeddable widget into their website. I think funds are doing a great job at building a white label, and we will try to help enable tools for widgets that can be easily embedded as well.
Okay, let's see what we got in the chat. Sunye, mind-blowing updates, thank you. We agree. Okay, so Cease asks, how long will version 1 be live for investors to check historical pre-enzyme track records? Maybe Mona is the best person to answer this.
I mean, we don't actually have any plans to remove V1, so that, you know, also the track records can never be erased actually. So we'll probably keep it up there. The only thing that will happen is that we will start to maintain, well, we've stopped maintaining V1 altogether, and we will start to update the price feed on V1 much less frequently as we get closer to April. We've seen that most of the assets under management have now migrated to V2. There is no plan to shut down the website, so the track records should always be accessible. But the only thing that will happen is, or the two things that are relevant, I think, to users are that we're no longer maintaining V1, and that the price feeds after April will stop being executed by us at least.
Great. There's also a question about the staking option. So we are now able to stake ETH, and will there soon come other coins as well? For example, XEM, excuse me. So yeah, I think here also it's an integration with Stakehound. And the plan is to also add additional tokens that they offer staking services for. So you should be able to convert any asset in your Enzyme fund into such a token, which then can be staked. That's my understanding of it, at least. So correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
No, that's totally right. I think Stakehound have quite an aggressive roadmap in terms of how they want to the wrapped stake tokens that they're going to provide. And we'll just, as long as there's demand for those tokens, and you can signal your demand through Canny, we'll be we'll be able to bring those tokens in. We also have had communications with a project called X token. Is it X token or X? Yeah, I think it's X token. But they launched kind of the staked version of KNC and SNX. Therefore, it's for more Ethereum native tokens. So we'll be able to, as they progress, we're also able to facilitate those kind of tokens as well. So for example, I think they have two versions of KNC token, where one always votes in favor of the token holder, and the other one always votes in favor of the user. So basically, you can opt into which staking token you want to own, and it will kind of automatically vote for you, and you'll receive the staking, so kind of like pooled staking.
That's the X token project, right?
Yes, I think it's
Yeah.
called the X token
Yeah.
project.
They also just launched like a sort of yield farming. So you can stake your tokens, you will earn the staking rewards, and on top you get their platform token also. So like combined, you can make like 400% APY on staking your Aave or Synthetics or 1inch at the moment. So it will probably go down, but it's like cool to see all these money Legos come together.
Yeah, definitely. I think the key message is we have the framework in place now with these two projects building out wrapped stake tokens. And so really, as they progress, we can progress. And so eventually we expect to have the full range of staking tokens.
Okay, we got another one from Says. He asks, can you update us on your thinking about performance attribution of individual lines in the portfolio, and whether or that will go into the roadmap sometime?
What do you mean when you say of individual lines, Keith?
It might be, I'm not sure.
Side letters maybe, that different investors can get different terms? Is that what you mean?
Or maybe the different assets in a portfolio. I saw that as a request also this week, that people want to see like a graph of the different assets, but maybe Sis can clarify it. We'll come back to it later.
Yeah, maybe we can take that one offline, Case. I'm not sure the performance. Yeah, maybe we can take that one offline and update you on that then, or on the next call.
Perfect.
James asks, would the council consider reimbursement of gas fees for the formation of V1 vaults? Would be nice to have the ETH we invested into formation of V1 vaults reimbursed in Melon tokens. I don't know. I think that's something we would need to discuss. All I know is that, for example, when I started my Melon fund back then, and ETH was way cheaper. So like that would be like 2 ETH worth of reimbursement, which like feels to me like a lot, because then I'm technically making money off it. I don't think
it should be I don't think the creation of vaults is particularly expensive. It's like $60, $70, even when, like gas was quite high this morning. It's not much, to be honest. And there's a Kovan testnet, which you can use to launch a vault for free if you just want to experiment. We haven't publicly really, announced it because it's not fully functional. I think lendings doesn't work on Kovan yet, and a couple of other small improvements need to be made. But there's really like, you should only be launching a vault if it makes if it makes sense for you and if you want to do it. The only reason we're subsidizing trading as an experiment is because trading is causing a lot of friction compared to, like setting up a vault compared to what it would cost you to do something equivalent in traditional world or anywhere else is actually, or even on any other protocol right now, is dirt cheap. So so we don't see the need to subsidize that, whereas we see the need to subsidize trading because throughout the whole of Ethereum, trading is now becoming more expensive to trade on dexes than it is to trade like on Kraken. So we understand that pain. We're figuring out a solution rather than rush a solution and then sort of um, uh, commit too early and feel like we may have made the wrong decision. We're more in the mode of carefully research all the options. I think though, what Jay said kind of resonates with us too. We're definitely more excited about from what we've seen so far. We're more excited about what's happening in the optimism space, and basically yeah, we're keeping our eyes very close on that. And in the meantime, our goal is to alleviate pain so that user adoption doesn't get hindered through that. But absolutely, like we will find a solution for that, like kind of more medium term.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind with layer 2 is as well that the primitives have to move first before any aggregators or even structured products can move, because yeah, we could move to optimism tomorrow, but if Uniswap isn't there, if Paraswap isn't there, if Compound isn't there, there's not much point. You still would need to communicate down to layer 1, which would have the same costs. So it's quite natural for an aggregator like Enzyme to move after the Uniswaps and synthetics are completely set up. So in the meantime, we'll just keep building on layer 1, which I think is key anyway, getting the product ready, because once layer 1 is scalable or once ETH 2.0 is out, it will be fairly easy to transition over. But right now it's important to keep building that mode of what Enzyme can actually do.
Yeah, fair point. We have another question in the chat from Lanfranco. He asks whether Enzyme allows for a complete list of all portfolio managers. So if I understand it correctly, whether we know the identity of all portfolio managers. So when you go to the dashboard on the site on Enzyme Finance, you can click on a fund and see its its details. And there, a manager can opt in to include a Twitter link. So many managers already linked their Twitter, I think. So if you want to connect a manager, your best bet would be doing it through there. Like the portfolio managers are public in the sense that they are on chain, like we know their Ether address, but we don't know their identity per se. So I would reach out through their Twitter handles or just through our community. Like many managers are active in either Discord or Enzyme, the Enzyme Telegram, excuse me. We also have a special channel for fund managers there, so feel free to reach out to them at that position.
So I'm just going to jump in because I've seen Case's Wikipedia and I now know what he means by performance attribution. Sorry, that was actually quite obvious, but I got stuck on what the individual lines means. But yeah, so yeah, we that's probably a question that we need to discuss internally, to be honest with you. I think that, just this morning we were talking actually about designs for something that could help visualize that. So, the thinking is already going into what the terminal or the app will grow into. And we're certainly seeing more data analytics coming into play there. So it's hard to give an exact an exact timeline, but I would say that probably within the next 3 or 4 months should be something that we should start to see a lot more metrics and analytics within the dashboard.
Okay, great. One more question from Ravi. Maybe after that we can wrap up because we're reaching the time limit. So Ravi asked whether Enzyme can be used only for DeFi assets or whether it can also manage some traditional finance assets on a fund. He still has to do a deep dig on enzyme structures. So the good news is, yes, we offer some bridges to the traditional finance world, but for instance, you have synthetic assets such as Tesla, which is a tokenized version of the Tesla stock. There are already some synthetic stock indices also available through Enzyme, but keep in mind these are all DeFi products, so they plug into traditional finance through DeFi. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. I think we can wrap up here. We look forward to seeing you again on the next community call. We'll set up another meeting for it on Eventbrite. So yeah, Felix, are you there?
And if you guys were always welcome to hear feedback, especially if you're an actual user. I've seen more and more people launch their own enzyme funds, even from my own following, my own circles. People like starting their own enzyme funds now. They're bringing on their friends and family. Any kind of input that you have from that experience is valuable. So, for example, one of my followers told me he recently set up a fund, and then there's a little bit of a hassle of getting them to, for example, get invested. Let's say it's denominated in USDT. That means they first have to buy USDT on Binance, send it to the wallet. Then don't forget, they first got to buy Ethereum as well to pay for the gas, send it to the wallet, right? So it could be things like that where it's like, hey, there is friction in the process. And at least then we know when we can, like, whether it's building the technology to improve it or build user resources, perhaps, right? User resource where we say, hey, in order to get onboarded, this is your 4-step plan, right? Buy USDT there, buy Ethereum. Don't forget the Ethereum, send it to the wallet. Make sure you send over the ERC20 system and so forth. Because some of those small things are friction when we're trying to onboard non-crypto native people. Because I think for a lot of you guys, the users, your investors tend to be perhaps friends and family that aren't in crypto, and they're giving you money particularly because you're the crypto guy. So if we can make it easier for them to invest with you, whether we can make it easier for you to do your job right. So many have told us, for example, that it's been burdensome carrying all the gas costs as the fund manager. Now we're looking into those issues. So the more you guys use it, don't think you're complaining, and if anything, you're telling us what you would like to see changed. So always open for feedback to GL or myself.
Maybe as a final thing, I see we have Jack Burby in the house. He's from Masari, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh boy.
Just a small update. You guys should update your team page. It's still like the old Enzyme Council on there. So this is like the updated team. Just a heads up. I noticed it was a bit out of date on the Masari webpage.
I'll hit up Jack. Sounds good. Let's see, lots of comments. Tobias says, thanks all, great to see what's coming. Can't wait for the curve pools. Robbie says, Dankeschön to the whole team. Excited to learn more about, learn about and experiment with Enzyme every day. Florence says, bye, thank you guys. Søren says, thank you all for this insightful community call. Says, awesome job, guys. You're rock stars, especially the developers cracking out. No, I just got, cracking out the new functionality at this pace. Hats tip. Yep, definitely shout out to the guys ladies and gents at Avant-Garde. They're crushing it with the speed at which they're developing and the quality too, because everything they're putting out is getting audited, which is really something I think you guys should appreciate too, because there's not that many projects out there that put as much emphasis on like clean code and audits as Enzyme has. Jim says, super update. Thanks for keeping us in the loop. Wolfgang, thank you for the whole team. Great meeting. Matthew, no team listens to users about product improvements better than Enzyme. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Cursor, thank you, everyone. Great product. Excited to grow the fund. Awesome. Well, guys, appreciate everybody joining in. That's it from me. GL, do you have any final words? I think Mona already logged off.
See you next time, and keep in touch through Discord and Telegram.
Awesome.
We'd love to hear from you.
Have a good one, guys. Take care.
Bye.